The Three Mistakes of My Life by Chetan Bhagat, The Wings of Fire, One Night at the Call Center by Chetan Bhagat, Half Girlfriend, and Harry Potter, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie, The Fault in Our Stars, and If I Stay by Gail Forman, and Animal Farm by George Orwell, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Hola, hi, bonjour, namaste everyone. A very warm welcome to my channel. This is Muskan with a little change in the background, and guessing by the thumbnail you must have understood that today we are going to talk about all the books that I read as a beginner. Back then I wasn't much a voracious reader. I was just fascinated with the world of novels or collecting books per se, and I just picked up books haphazardly because I wasn't much aware or I wasn't accustomed to using social media platforms or YouTube or even Google per se, and because of that I didn't know which book should I read as a beginner and which book should I not read as a beginner, and all these books which will create a good impact, a great impact on me. So the books that I got were all from the railway kiosk, and the books that the particular book that I was introduced to the world of novels was by my mother, and she got me this book, which is, as proud as I am to have read all these books, to have started to read and to get into the world of novels. I am equally embarrassed to admit that I read these books as a beginner, but here goes. So the first book that my mother got me is The Three Mistakes of My Life by Chetan Bhagat. I didn't actually got to finish reading this book because as soon as I started reading it, it was really difficult for me because of the vocabulary. I wasn't much accustomed to reading English novels apart from the school syllabus. So I used to keep a pencil in my hand. I used to highlight all these words that I found to be difficult, and I would tell it to you. I would just let me read it, all the books, all the words that I've highlighted. One, pitching, and there's curiosity, blabbering, hoax, and quiver, spam, and all these words which I find really funny that back then I didn't even know what curiosity was. Okay. So I just read a few pages of this book, but I didn't read any further because it was really difficult for me to understand the characters and to understand the way the dialogues are flowing in this book, and that's why I just kept it back. And after that, it was I think almost a 6 months gap or a 7 months gap that when I traveled again to my hometown. My father got me this book, or rather my brother asked my father to get us this book, which is The Wings of Fire, and it was the first autobiographical book that I read, and the second book that I read, which I finished, or which I read from cover to cover. I read every page, every word of this book, and I was so impressed, and it impacted me so much that it motivated me to study and to work even harder. And I will be embarrassing myself again because the next book that I picked up was again from a railway kiosk, and it is One Night at the Call Center by Chetan Bhagat. The entire story takes place in one night, and the theme of fate is central throughout the plot. And as soon as I finished reading this book, even though I finished reading it in a really great speed, I didn't much enjoy reading this book. And the next book that I picked up is again from Chetan Bhagat, which is Half Girlfriend. I ordered this on Flipkart, and prior to me reading this book, my father picked up this book, and he just wanted to make sure whether or not I can read this, as he did not admit it directly to me, but I understand that he did it on purpose. And I'm so grateful for the parents that I have, because there's one who introduced me into the world of novels, and there's one who always makes sure if I take good decisions, if I take right decisions for my life. All the works of the popular fiction or the popular genre was once considered as lowbrow, and you wouldn't even believe that the works of Shakespeare, which has now entered the literary canon and is considered as classics, was once treated as popular and under the popular genre, and it was considered as lowbrow. Would you believe that? I feel so lucky for having read the next book which I am going to talk about, which was gifted to me by my brother on my birthday, and I could not thank him enough for getting me into the world of Harry Potter. This is the first book that I read from the series, and I did not read the other books until 3-4 years later. and I really thank him for getting me into the world of Harry Potter, because this book is such well written. It's so precise, the details, and there are many characters, multiple characters, and not one character is out of use. There is some significance attached to every character, every element, and every incident or every event. You could not just begin to calculate how precisely this book is written. Next book that I read is again a gift from my brother, which is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a kind of book which makes you contemplate in depth about the world we live in, and it centers around racism, and the kind of themes this book has is quite serious. The characters are really great, they are beautiful, but I wouldn't recommend this for a beginner who has just started out on reading the books. It is a classic, although there are classic books available for beginners which a beginner could read, but not this one. When you have read quite a few books, pick this one up and read it for sure, because this book is really beautiful, and it will make you think and make you contemplate a lot, and it will create a very great impact on you. And the next book that I got for myself, which I didn't end up reading back then, is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. I did not read this book because as soon as I started reading it, as soon as I was into the first chapter or the first few chapters of this book, I could not comprehend the meaning of it. I simply could not understand. It went over my head, and I read it recently, not recently, but I read it last year, and I was simply so impressed by the works of Agatha Christie that I instantly ordered 4 or 5 books by her. Next up, I read a really popular book by John Green, which is The Fault in Our Stars, and I was so much in love with this book. As soon as I finished reading it, like I was head over heels in love with the characters of this book, with Augustus and with Grace, that I did not watch the movie after reading this book, but I watched the Bollywood remake of it, and it had done no justice to the kind of book this is. But this is the kind of book for which I'll say that the book is better than the movie. And do give it a read if you are a beginner, because this book can be the epitome of a romance novel. The next book that I read and instantly fell in love with is If I Stay by Gail Forman, and if you are looking for a great romance book for a beginner, read this one combined with this one. I was insanely impressed with the next book that I read, and I consider it as one of my best reads so far, and it is The Animal Farm by George Orwell. And this is the book which really got me into reading, and I started consuming books more voraciously after reading this book. This book is really short, of 115 pages, and it is a political satire, and the satire is not hidden under the layer of words, but it is so apparent that you will find it really funny and really relatable. So that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to my channel. If you didn't like watching this video, give it a thumbs down, no worries. Just stay happy, stay blessed, and keep reading until we meet next time. Ciao.